Well, joining me in the studio now to go through the papers is journalist and former editor of the Daily Star, Dawn Neeson, as well as the Olympic athlete Chris Akabusi. Welcome back to both of you in the studio. Chris, let's start with strikes, a different set of unions that we haven't really touched on yet today. Let's look at what's happening on the rails, because the Telegraph are saying strikes are set to push millions more drivers onto the road.
Yeah, absolutely. So there's a sort of perfect storm. You've got the rails, you've got the UK Border Force, you've got the National Highway Agency, and the point that article's trying to make is that this should all percolate into the busiest festive period on the roads between the 23rd and 25th. So, you know the Chris Rea song, Driving Home for Christmas? It's one of my favourite Christmas songs, and you can't wait to see those faces. There's going to be a lot more faces for Chris Rea when he's on the road.
Crawling home for Christmas,
45 million cars. So the article is saying they're going to be there because, for example, the National Highways Agency, they're meant to tell you where all the queues are going to be. If no one's there, you'll just roll into a queue and you could be stuck there for, on average, 90 minutes. So
the RAC is saying it's going to be Friday and Saturday that are going to be really busy. It's sort of, Dawn, this is to be expected, isn't it?
Well, I mean, it is, and we were discussing this in the break. I mean, sort of like, obviously, everybody's Christmas planned. You have to think long and hard about what you're going to do. And it's putting a lot of people off travelling, not just to see loved ones, but people that were having a festive break, staying in hotels, you know, and the hospitality industry. I know we've talked about it a lot on this show. The hospitality industry, it needs all the help it can get this Christmas, and it's really, really suffering. I mean, we went out to a restaurant for my birthday last week, and they were saying we're sort of like 70% down. That's in central London. Hotel we were hoping staying over Christmas, and it's like we're now thinking, you know, the thought of spending the entire Christmas Eve sitting in traffic. I know, sort of like, you know, first world problems, but it's just like we're putting off going, and a lot of people are thinking the same. And you know, the people working in those hotels and those restaurants and those bars, they need that trade. So
has strike action changed any of your plans?
Personally, no. My family come to my house and they're young, so young and thrusting, they're going to make the journey. So no, I'm very much looking...
Hold on a minute, Chris, are you implying that I'm not actually young?
No! But, you know, again, the article makes sure this is the first Christmas since COVID, so people are going to want to see their families, for example. So I'm very much looking forward to that. Can I just say, what the article also says is, make sure you're prepared, because if you're going to be stuck in your car...
You want to be equipped, of course.
Yeah, water, protein food, warm clothes and high-vis jackets.
Do you have sympathy with the railway strikes?
Yeah, definitely, I do. I've not walked a mile in their shoes. I'm very fortunate, and I don't know what it's like to be working and not be able to feed your kids, to have Christmas and not to be able to buy presents, to go through this period, and grandma and needs a blanket over her legs because she can't get warm. Yeah, I've got sympathy. I think that, you know, we've impressed on the people over the last 15 years since the global financial crisis, do this for Britain, we're all in it together. Well, now it's time to be there for the people.
I support everybody's right to go on strike, but I think a lot of people watching and listening this morning will be thinking, hold on a minute, I don't work for the public sector, I work for the private sector. There's no chance I'm going to get that pay rise. A lot of people are on a lot less than, not talking about the NHS and the nursing strike here, but certainly the rail union strike. A lot of people are thinking, I'm on a lot less than many of those people are earning. I'm actually potentially going to lose my job because I can't get to my job. So therefore, my situation financially is going to be a lot worse. So I think sympathy is ebbing, as we know from various polls as well, for a lot of the strikes, because people are losing their jobs over it as well. And obviously with the NHS one, potentially people could lose their lives.
Well, I have to take you up for that, Dawn, and there's no reason why I should doubt it. But my brief circle, a lot of people are in sympathy with the vast swathe of down-to-earth, working-class and middle-class people who've really listened and they've gone the extra mile, and they are struggling.
Yeah, no, absolutely. The question is whether that public sympathy will shift as services that we are used to relying on shift over Christmas. Let's move on from strike action if we can. Dawn, a really serious story in the Mirror.
Yes.
If we look at some international news for a moment, this actress has been arrested in Iran.
Obviously it's really not pleasant in this country at the moment, but we do have to remember that we don't don't live in a country like Iran, where women in particular, Rosie, are really suffering. As we know, Masha Amini, she died in custody in September because she wasn't wearing a headscarf properly. And this is one of the most famous actresses. It's a lady called Tanish Anadosi. She's 38 years old. She has been arrested for posting about what's going on and the women protesting for their rights in Iran. And she has now been arrested for spreading falsehoods about the demonstrations, which she wasn't. She was simply telling the truth. And obviously being arrested in a country like Iran, as we know from Masha, she died in custody before being arrested for not having her head covered properly. So I just wanted to mention this story because while we are suffering here, there are lots of stories going on around the world, and obviously we've just seen the World Cup, amazing as it was for football in Qatar. The human rights issues are still very important, and women in particular are really suffering still, and we tend to forget about it. We get so bogged down in our own, woes that's going on over this Christmas period, but thoughts and prayers with all the women in Iran, not just Iran, but Afghanistan and many countries where women are certainly going to be suffering this Christmas.
Let's look at some health stories if we can now, Chris, in the eye, and COVID. Not in the same way if we go back 12 months ago to how we were talking about it last Christmas, a very different story.
Absolutely. So I fell on this article. So what they're saying is that flu and pneumonia now exceed those details from COVID. And what interested me, there's a saying in business circles, what gets measured gets managed, and what gets managed gets done. Now, all of us can remember in the last 2 years the daily uptake of cases and deaths, etc., from COVID. Well, this article is now saying that flu and pneumonia is killing more, and we all know as well that strokes, heart attacks and cancers are on the rise. I heard some contributor earlier on here today say, well, this person has said for the past 2 winters flu was unusually rare because COVID lockdowns and voluntary social distancing restricted its circulation. But the challenge with that is that you get what you look at, and some people might say that we just didn't look at. You remember 28 days. If you got COVID within if you got COVID and then within 28 days you died of COVID. Now.
We died with COVID, I think that's what it says.
Sorry,
yeah.
Pardon me, I apologise.
No worries.
Yes, we died with COVID, whereas now we're not talking about dying with COVID, we're talking about dying with pneumonia. Look, I'm not a doctor, I'm not a virologist, but as my eyes fell on this, I just thought to myself how we can spin data and how, what gets measured gets managed, and we're not managing COVID anymore in those ways that we did in the past. And so now
we're certainly not scrutinising the detail as much as we hadn't, and maybe that's because it's having less of an impact on our day-to-day lives. This time last year, if you caught COVID, well, you'd probably miss Christmas because you had to isolate, and we don't have those same limitations. Let's look on to Christmas if we can, Dawn. Yes. And in the Mail, did Stampede Sunday help to save Christmas?
Exactly. As I say, it's Christmas week. It's Christmas this weekend, by the way, and you're not ready because I'm not ready.
Look at you, you are ready. Look at your jacket.
No. Well, this is about Christmas shopping, this story, and I went out Christmas shopping and ended up buying stuff for me.
Right.
That's what you do, isn't it? I know it's not ideal. Anyways, this is our Stampede Sunday, Help Save Christmas. We are estimated £750 million was expected to be spent on Christmas shopping yesterday. 10 million of us supposedly hit the shops. That works out about £3 million a minute was spent. Now, obviously, Sunday was important because, families can go out together, but also we had the rail strikes on Saturday, so people can get to the sort of like the town centres and everything to do their Christmas shopping. So it was very, very busy yesterday. And the start of the weekend on Friday, footfall in our high streets was 8% down. So as we know, again, like we're talking about the hospitality industry, high streets need our support as well.
How much are you going out shopping in person rather than online?
I'm making a point, actually, of going out shopping, and I'm trying to shop as local as possible. I live in London, so it's local. I can walk into the West End, so it's not a problem. But I'm trying to support local shops and stores as much as possible because they need our help at the moment. I'm also supporting bars and restaurants as much as possible.
I can imagine. How many presents left to buy?
Like all of them, I've managed to sort myself out. Well, how about you? Have you got all yours then, Rosie?
I've done the majority,
Oh my
actually.
God.
I'm very
Rosie,
annoyed.
what are you doing?
But I'm not in charge of Christmas dinner. I'm going to my parents. My mum and my dad will certainly be in charge of that. Talk us through. This is in the Sun now. The store's Christmas dinner wars.
Yes,
Prices, I'm assuming this is over.
Well, actually, this, I want to say, is a good thing. And the Sun, I think, have done a good thing. What they've done is they've shown the ticket prices from 6 of the major retailers. You know all of them, who they are.
So they're costing up the price of a Christmas dinner.
Yeah, exactly
so
right.
where is it most expensive then?
Right. Well, no, you can't say that. What? You can't say.
She just did.
Yeah.
So where's the cheapest then?
Yeah, cheapest Yorkies, Sainsbury's.
Sainsbury's, okay.
Cheapest custard, Asda. Oh, well, actually, no, you can say that. Cheapest overall,
exactly.
Tesco's.
Tesco's, there we go.
You would think the discount retailers, wouldn't you?
And what are they saying is the standard things that are on there?
Turkey at Tesco's, custard at Asda, puddings at Lidl,
They're saying
cheese.
that after eights or mint chocolate alternatives are an essential on your Christmas list. Is it an essential?
I would say so.
Quality Street are essential.
Really?
No, come on, Quality Street are definitely essential.
But what they like about this is that now some people will look at this and they will just go to their local retailer and just shop everything. But the savvy consumer will look at this.
Don't tell me they're going to go to one shop.
Yeah, you're going to walk around all of those.
Well, yeah, because so often they are on one big business park, aren't they?
Well, yeah, if they're all next door, I think that makes sense. Otherwise, the cost of your time to go to so many different shops.
But who doesn't like a bargain? Come on, Rosie, get a bargain.
Well, Chris certainly does. Let's finally go back to the star if we can, Dawn. There's a mammoth risk of what?
Oh, yeah, see what you did there. Yeah, this is Jurassic Park. Remember Jurassic Park?
Yes.
1993. We were just talking to one of the very young producers outside who wasn't born. In any case, Jurassic Park 1993. We all know how that ended, right? Didn't end well. This is a story about scientists are analysing the remains of mammoths and other Ice Age animals, and they want to revive viruses that have lain dormant in ice for almost 500,000 years. Now, please don't do this. This is not a good thing.
So why do they want to do
Well, because they want to do research into viruses so we don't have another pandemic like COVID, but we don't have immunity for these, Rosie. If they get out, I mean, things escape from labs. We all know it. We've all seen this film.
Yes.
And it's not good. It doesn't have a happy ending. You can have a T-Rex or a Velociraptor wandering down your high street at Christmas. It's not good.
We know
it's not good. No.
We know that's not going to happen.
You don't know.
What's the chances of them actually conducting this research?
Well, it's fairly slim, to
Okay.
be fair.
Right,
but
that's okay.
it's a fun story, Rosie. Stop destroying my story. You're not helping.
Yes.
Can we just talk very briefly about this story? And the Sun have done in the hand of God. At last, Messi wins the Holy Grail, they've said. The greatest World Cup final since 1966, according to the Sun. Chris, what did you make of it? Did it come out all top trumps?
Oh, yeah, it was a fantastic final. Really enjoyed it. The first half was all Argentina. The French did not turn up. They were like sleeping at the wheel. But then all of a sudden, the big stars grabbed hold of it. Messi grabbed hold of it. Mbappe. The second half was tremendous. 2-2, extra time, 3-3. It was just hammer and tongs. The young marauding French were absolutely phenomenal. But in the end, I think in the end, right team won. The young French lost as Messi and Argentina lifted the cup for the second time. Sort of building on the shoulders of Maradona. So
there we
Messi
go.
now can say, see Maradona, I'm on top, built on those.
Messi's going out at the top of his career. He's 35 now, isn't he? He's going out at the very top, winning that World Cup, and the absolutely joyous pictures of them celebrating. Mbappe for France, he's only 23
Yeah, and
still.
yes.
So young.
He's won one World Cup. I mean, obviously, he was hoping to, at 23, win 2 World Cups.
Yeah. So he's got another 3 World Cups
Yeah, at
coming,
least 2,
whereas
yeah.
Messi is his last opportunity. So
Thank you both so
Bless you.
much for joining us this morning on Breakfast. Happy Christmas.
thank you, and happy
Yes,
Christmas to you
Merry
as well.
Christmas.
And to Chris, it's been a real pleasure. Thank you.
Yes.
Right now.